Live. Okay, and we are live. And hello, good afternoon, everyone. We're just gonna wait a bit longer. Let me just implement, double check the stream.
All good?
Yeah, give me a second. It's just not
Yep.
okay. We are good. Okay, and then let me just do a watch party. Mm, the problem with Facebook now is like they have a whole their whole SOP is like so weird. So I can't bear to use it. Okay, hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Daniel from Entrepreneurs Time Y, and also we're O2O Summit. And one of the things that we are doing today is actually we have questions from some of the participants and some people in the group, and we are very fortunate to have Jeffrey from Engine Mailer to come and be our doctor in residence to share how to solve some of these problems. And for those who have actually submitted their question, we will be answering them. But if you have any questions, feel free to just drop in a comment, and we will either answer it today or in another session with another. Unless Jeffrey want to come again, then we can do another.
Good afternoon.
another.
Very nice for you to have me today.
So before we proceed, Jeffrey, can you share a bit what Engine Mailer is about for those people who didn't?
Okay, hi. Yeah, Daniel, thank you again for having Engine Mailer on this show. So we are basically a cloud-based email marketing platform. I think there's quite a lot of platforms out there, but where we're coming from is we always believe that the key to successful email engagement lies within the data that you have. So, from an Engine Mailer standpoint, we provide a very complete data management platform for all the way from freelancers, small companies, and large corporates to go in there and effectively manage your database to begin with. Thereafter, I think we have multiple engagement modules for you to reach out to your customers. The campaign modules lets you very easily drag and drop your newsletters and send it to a mass audience. We also have APIs for the more advanced users. Some of you might want to integrate it with your backend systems. So all the database and marketing modules are complete with APIs. We also have automation stuff for the more advanced users. So stuff like autoresponders for you to automate the messages sequences so that your business can be in a way automated in the digital world. Customer service and a whole bunch of reporting and analytics tools to help the businesses out there.
Okay.
Right. So that's what Engine is all about, right?
How long has this? This is not your new venture, but it's a new project from your company, right?
Yeah. So I think from a little bit of background, I also run Teneo Technologies. I think WebLight is the name of the software that we go to market with. We've been around in Malaysia for 16 plus years at the moment. And email marketing is one of the core pillars that we offer to our customers, but primarily the enterprise customers out there. So I think over the years, you know what I mean by enterprises are people that send millions of emails on a monthly basis, or at least 500,000. Let's put it that way. We spoke to a lot. I think most of the people we've spoken to, how can we get a successful email campaign running for you? But unfortunately, not everyone has that kind of volume to send. So for the longest time, we promoted stuff like MailChimp, GetResponse, SendGrid, all these cloud services out there. They're great platforms. But about 4 years back, we decided that, I think it's enough promoting another SaaS service out there. We have the technology, we have the know-how, we understand the challenges that the businesses face out there. So we said, okay, let's come up with our own plan. So we took our knowledge in the web-like business and we coupled it with all the best out there, and we packed it into Engine Mailer. So it's been, yeah, as you said, so it's our first cloud software as a service platform, but email marketing is not new to us. So essentially, you're getting the best of every world into Engine Mailer at the moment.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
so we actually, I think we have a particular promo code for Engine Mailer for O2O and etc. So
Mm.
for
Mm.
those who are part of the O2O conference, you should be able to actually unlock. I can't remember. Was it 10,000? 10,000
Yeah,
USD?
yeah. So basically, I think for us, I think we want people to use the platform. We really want to help companies out there. So if you sign up for Engine Mailer today, we give you a free forever account. And what I mean by free forever is you can actually, there's no 14 days trial or 21 days trial. After that, we're going to kill your account. And secondly is we give everybody unlimited subscribers. In this sense, we realize that a lot of smaller companies out here, you might have, say, a database of 10,000, 20,000 database, but you're only sending out very limited number of newsletters. So a lot of email service providers out there charge you based on your subscribers rather than your engagements. So that's one model that we changed. So we let you store as many as you want. When you import your data into the platform, we do cleansing for our subscribers as well. So we clean up the duplicate emails, we clean up the bad email formats, because ultimately the cleaner your database, the more the better your engagements are going to be. And as you start sending on Engine Mailer, sometimes bad emails, emails that don't exist anymore, spam complaints, unsubscribes, the platform actually constantly cleans up your data as you send more. So the idea is the better your data is, the better your engagements are going to be. And the email service ISPs out there, people like Google, Yahoo, Outlook, the more bounces you send to them, the worse your reputation is going to be. So essentially, we're helping you get your emails into the inbox as well.
Oh yeah, that's
Right.
amazing.
Yeah.
We'll talk
Yeah.
about that a
Yeah.
bit later.
Yeah.
But let's
Okay.
jump
Okay.
into some of the questions. I
Okay.
think the number one question is not really email per se, but I think someone posted in the group is like, I'm a small business. I join a lot of Facebook group and do a lot of posting, but they are not seeing a lot of result. Is there something they are doing wrong? Like what advice would you give?
Yeah. So I think the most important thing, if you ask me, this is not email related, but it's more, we must have a holistic digital strategy. Going back to the whole digital funneling system, right? It starts with the awareness, then you go on to the engagements, then you go on to the advocacy layer. So Facebooks and all that are good, but you post in a group, you must have continuity in terms of what you're doing. Example, you might have a website. So when you shout something on Facebook, someone must click on the link and more information is available on the website. Or, when you post something on Facebook, when they click on the link or the call to action must be very clear. What is it that you want from the consumer? Are you trying to tell him about the product? If it is, then what you got to work the customer journeys, right? If someone is interested, what do they do? If someone is not, how can you retarget and re-engage this person? So again, pulling it back from the social platform to email. So email is more targeted at this point in time. So always have avenues to get their information. This is true not only for emails, actually. Getting their mobile phone numbers. You might want to engage through WhatsApp. You want to go to Telegram. So a strategy to actually engage with the consumer, get their details, and how you can target and promote your products to them. I think that's how I would approach that. So not so much just going to Facebook and do an ad hoc, I have this promotion, because nobody's going to remember you at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's great. Second one is actually more of an email question, actually. I have a email and Shopify question. I have a big emailing list and should be tapping into email marketing. I'm looking to add Klaviyo, which I'm not too familiar with, but I think it's an emailing platform.
Yeah, it's a great platform. Yeah.
Okay, to Shopify because it's highly recommended. So the question is, where can I find good resources? How to set it up? How to get the most of it? And also, we've been keeping this aside for too long because of fear not knowing what to write, which is the second part of the question. Because when you have a mailing list and you're starting to do email marketing, a lot of times you do not know what to add in and what to write in your email. So what will be the best practice for content?
Okay, how do I approach this? First of all, the question is, I have a big emailing list, right? I think that is what we need to answer first. So big can be 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million. So I think that's a very relative thing, right? So first of all, if you have a base of say 1,000 or 2,000 people, I think that's quite straightforward. But ultimately, whatever base that you have is to start off with the profiling side of things. So you need to understand your customer, you need to understand who they are, as simple as whether this is a first-time customer, this is a repeat customer, what products have you bought from the shopping cart, So that profile is important because it allows you to target the right information to the right person. So when I hear a big emailing list, because we've seen emailing lists that is in the millions, 5 million, 10 million, so that becomes a little bit of a bigger challenge that you need to address, right? So assuming that you're running an e-commerce business, I'm assuming also on Shopify. So what are before you go into what you want to do, what is the type of content that you want to get over to your consumers, right? So the product goes, right, I scaled 4 products with 2 sizes, right? I think that's the question. So apart from doing just, this is my product, this is my promotion, buy 2 free 1, how else can you engage with the customer? Right. Yeah. So one of it you might want to show what is so good. So talk to them about maybe the values of the product, the output of the product. Maybe you get a brighter skincare. You might want to talk about a success story. You might want to talk about the global trends to do with skincare. What are the new things and how are you relevant to that, for example? Latest, you can run surveys with your customer. What do you think of our products? So these are all the different touch points that you can send via email. And more so now during the pandemic, Daniel, I think one of the key things that we see in EDM messages is how do you show that you care about people, right? So it's so much selling your product, right? What are you doing? How are you helping the community out there? How are you staying safe? So those are the kind of messages that I think should be constantly engaged to the consumers out there. So you have to think about all these things. So again, back to the question, I would break it into the 2 types of emails that you like to send, right? The first one is, of course, your one-to-many, those avenues that I told you about, right? You understand a weekly or 2 times a week, what is a content calendar that you can come up with. But more importantly, if you're doing a direct integration to Shopify, in this case, say Klaviyo, right? It's the marketing automation bits that you need to look into. So one example would be cart abandonment, right? You know that this guy came to the shopping cart and he checked out this item A, but he didn't buy. Because shopping cart itself is a known fact, right? Abandonment, I think, increases purchases by 20 to 30%. So you're sending them reminders. I say, hey, you dropped out on this. Why don't I give you a 5%? Let's go in and check out again, right? So the marketing automation bits, I think, are more important, right? So if you look at it in terms of resources, all of the platforms, you go to Klaviyo, you go to Engine Mailer, you go to any platform out there. There's loads of blogs and articles that we've written as to what are the best practices or the best way for you to engage with your customers. So I think as an advice to this question is just pick a platform, understanding what you're trying to do, and just experiment with it, because these platforms that we have today are very easy to use stuff. So you don't need to be very clever or very technical savvy to run it, and build those automation and mass comm streams into your business. Emails, remember, is very targeted, and emails is very broad. So if you have a base of 5 or 10, the results are probably not so significant. So the idea is to build this base so that you can automate and convert them into sales at the end of the day.
And just as a few follow-up questions, one is basically a statement before we move on, is the fact that like Engine Mailer, like you mentioned, the big emailing list, how big it is. Number 2, is it going to be sanitized, or is it going to be others, people opting in, or where do you get it from? If they don't, that's useless. Basically, that's like you have the email, but those are useless at all.
Yeah. So rule of thumb is in this part of the world, in Asia, in context of Malaysia as well, very true. In the last 15 years of speaking to people, the mindset was always to be, what is the fastest way for me to get a database? And a lot of people resorting to buying email addresses and sending it out, right? So today, I think the consumers are a little bit smarter. So if you send them spam, they're going to report you, right? Not only reporting from an IP standpoint, they're going to report you to authorities. So the key in all email engagements is actually opt-in, right? Get the opt-ins, so the consent from the user saying that I need to receive all this material from you. Because that's number one, right? And once you have that consent, you'll notice that the engagement layers is a lot better. Spam complaints are a lot less, and you'll realize that your emails will not end up in the spam box as much as well. Right? I think there's no point sending 1 million emails and more than half of them end up in spam. Yeah.
And just as a follow-up question, I know the question is actually asked specifically to Shopify. Does Engine Mailer actually have any Shopify integration at this point in time or coming soon?
At the moment, it's coming soon. Unfortunately, we haven't got the direct integrations yet. However, Engine Mailer has a set of full RESTful and SOAP APIs. So if you have a little bit of technical knowledge, you can practically integrate it to any platforms out there. But there's no drag and drop stuff directly into Shopify at the moment. Something that we're working on.
So for those who might not know, SOAP API essentially is a way for a different software to talk to different software to talk to each other, basically.
Yeah.
So you will need probably a programmer to help you out to do that integration.
Yes. So, but I would advise, if you are specifically, because each one of us email guys have our own niches. So if you're building something on Shopify, maybe Klaviyo will be a good platform. I read in the news a while back that I think Shopify has their own email platforms right now since they severed the ties with MailChimp. So there are some inbuilt email functions within Shopify itself. So always look at the best option depending on what you're trying to achieve. But again, it can be a Frankenstein thing, right? You have one e-commerce platform, and in the case of emails, one mass broadcasting, one for drip, one for API integration. So try to look for something that can pull everything together depending on what you need.
Before we move on to the next question, can you just explain that a bit? Like, what is mass, drip, and API integration? What are the different type of email marketing?
Okay. So mass marketing, I think this is what a lot of people are very familiar with.
Yeah.
So what it means
is
you have a list of emails that have signed up to your website or your service. So you're putting it into a database and you're sending it to this group of people. So again, for mass databases, it's good to profile them so that at least you know their demographics, you know their interests, so that it hit people with the right information. So the average rate so far that we see, if you're sending it mass, maybe a seasonal message to someone, we're getting an engagement rate of maybe an 8 to 12% of open rate and maybe a 1-2% of click rate. That's average. But if you start targeting and send people the right material, you can actually up your engagement rate to 30, 40, or even more than that, right? Depending on how targeted you are. So that's all about mass marketing. The second one is basically drip. What we mean by drip is or sequence, right? You pre-program a series of emails. That means, okay, I'm sending to this base of 10,000 people, or I'm running this campaign based on what you do. And depending on the interaction, if this guy clicks on the email, I follow up with this particular email. If he doesn't do anything for 2 days, then I send another thing. Or it can be an autoresponder. Someone signs up to your website. Day one, you say, thank you for signing up. Then 2 days later, you already pre-program. I want to tell him about product A. 3 days later, I want to automate a message from one of my sales staff and say, hey, if you have any questions, feel free to call me. So these are all marketing automation and programmatic stuff that you can put in. The third one will be APIs. You might have a backend system, maybe a CRM system or a system that does data crunching or HR system or finance system, and you want to send notifications or maybe an invoice, for example. So if that's not part of the platform that you subscribe to, so say your bill is due next month, right? Say you subscribe for, say a Maxi service right now. So there must be a trigger on the back saying that, hey, your bill is due in 1 week and this is how much you're going to pay, right? It's gone to a point today, some of the credit card companies, the banks that we work for. So if I make an online payment today, on the spot, they're actually sending me, hey, thank you, we've received 1,000 ringgit from you, for example. So these are all real-time triggered APIs that are done based on an action by the user. So those are generally the three categories of email that you should be familiar with. Right?
Okay. Yeah, that thanks for clarifying that for a lot of people. Actually, they usually do not understand, like when they subscribe to a mail blasting service, it's like, oh, but I want to do this other stuff, and then it'll be totally different.
Yeah. So I think today, on that note, Daniel, right? Mail blasting itself, it works, but it's not. It will not give you the true value of emails. Right. So you have to use every single touch point, not only from an email basis, but from the spectrum of digital marketing tools that you have in order to get the results that you want. Right.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. We'll move on to the next question. I always receive email marketing during midnight, even for local companies. And it's reasoning or strategy behind it. So the user is trying to figure out like why they keep receiving a lot. And I think maybe my follow-up question will be like, is there a really good time when should we send out email? Like, do we need time them?
I think there's two reasons behind this. Number one is based on sheer system queuing. You know, a lot of people don't even go to the point of looking at analytics, right? So you load into the system and it sends, especially when you're sending high volume. So whatever time you get, you get. However, there are certain industries. I can share with you one of our customers that sends out news. They're in the media business. So to them, it is very important that the news gets to the consumer between 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning. Those are all planned. Because you know, late news is no news. Everybody already know about it. So certain amount of times it's planned, sometimes it's system driven, but most of the times we still believe that there are golden periods for you to send those emails. For example, early in the morning emails, because the logic behind it is when someone goes to work, when I switch on my Outlook on my mobile phone in the morning, that's the first email or the second email that I see. Yeah. So those are things. But if you're somewhere down the road, you know, the engagement rates might be lower. So the golden period so far that we see, there are many school of thoughts, but generally apart from news, if you are, say, a product-based, Mondays are not good days for newsletters. Fridays are not good days as well. Because if you talk about working crowd, you know, a lot of things to deal with, and Friday you just want to go home. So the best periods are still Tuesdays to Thursdays. Around the lunchtime period seems to get a lot of engagements, but it also depends on what you're trying to push forward. If you're trying to push end of day clearance for, say, some food or merchandise that you're doing, then maybe pushing it in the evening will be the best time, right? Because that's when you want people to take action immediately. And when it's time sensitive, I suppose having a platform that can deliver your emails on time is very important. We've had cases where you might be setting a promotion, but when someone calls you, you tell them, oh, sorry, I'm out of stock already. So you don't want to be stuck in those kind of situations, right? So to answer this, there is a science behind the best time to send a newsletter. So the key is to understand the reports. A lot of email platforms, including Engine Mailer, when you go to your campaigns, it actually gives you the best time where a user interacts with your newsletter. So whether they open or they click. So the more of campaigns that you send, you can accumulate this data, and then you'll know, okay, let's send it at 2 o'clock is the best time, or between 8 to 9. Understanding the reports and experiment enough to actually send your campaign.
Got it. Talking about newsletter, someone asked, like, I have a newsletter, but the open rate seems to be very low. The user did not specify how low is low. How do I ensure a higher engagement over it?
Yeah. So again, I gave you some rough stats earlier on the general engagement rates, right? So there's a few things that helps drive engagement. Number one is, let's start with something very basic, because in our context, I think especially for the smaller SMEs, I still get a lot of newsletters coming from one big JPEG, right, rather than nice HTML. So no, I think the problem here is, before we go into the optimization bits, right? People still are having difficulties to do nice HTML messages. Why? I think they don't know that there are a lot of tools out there that you can very easily sign up and get access to nice templates and to be able to easily do this, right? And the other one is because their creative, their design agencies and the digital people don't talk together. So very often you get one poster and you say, here's your poster, go send it out on email, right? So first things first is always go into a platform that lets you build newsletters quickly, and these newsletters are automatically responsive in the sense that the moment when you get to a mobile phone, it's already aligned properly and your message is clear. So that's step one that you need to do, right? And there are other areas, a few of them. One of it is personalization. I want to talk about. Personalization has been seen to improve engagements by 20%. So personalizations in the sense that, dear Daniel, this is your offer for the weekend. So it's addressing your name, right? And when you go into the content, it's not only dear Daniel, your name or your membership number. Personalization goes to the point that the products that you like, you might like the more analytics, I know, okay, Daniel, he likes black, right? He likes to have his tea, right? So when I send you products, it's based on analytics that are obtained from the other digital platforms that there we go. Yeah, we got it right. Right. So personalization is very important. Second one is people underestimate the power of subject lines.
Yes.
So
I was going to say that personalization in the subject line itself is so powerful.
Correct. So coming up with proper subject lines to engage you can increase your engagement by 20 to 30%, right? So again, when it comes to subject lines, we need a balance between what the consumer really likes, which is normally stuff like free and because words like free very often trigger anti-spams. So when you put too much of these words, then your emails will end up in the spam folder and nobody reads it. So I once read an article that said that if you can figure out 10 other ways to say free, then you're an EDM expert, right? So that's something that you need to play around with, right? The third one is also for engagement is targeting, right? Knowing what to send that person, what's the best time to send him, and what device or what digital platforms do you want to send it to? Do you want to send him the message on email, on Facebook, on WhatsApp, on Telegram? There's so many other things to send to them, right? And the other thing that I can think of is basically the cleanliness of your list. So imagine having a database of 10,000 and you know that 3,000 of those names are obsolete and it's hard bounces, and you continue to send to that list every time you want to do marketing. So automatically 30% is really hard bounce.
Yeah.
Right. So if you take that 30% off, automatically your engagement rates goes up. So where data is concerned, always try to suppress the bad emails because you're paying money for it, you're spending time, but no one's reading it. So always have platforms that can clean those emails for you. Right. So those are some of the areas. And the last one, of course, if you send too many emails to the recipients, you tend to get bad results as well. Right. But it's always an argument here because if you look at the proper digital marketing guides or the proper promotions, emails come to you almost on a daily basis. So long as you're sending the right content to me, I will continue to read. But if you're spamming me, I will just opt out and get out of the list.
I think maybe I can also add, especially in terms of newsletter, I'm not sure how it works now, but there was a period of time a lot of newsletter will say like, hey, we noticed you have not opened it. Do you want to unsubscribe?
I don't think that is a common practice because people today know that if they don't want to receive, they will unsubscribe. And marketers or platforms are becoming more and more intelligent in the sense that I can do segmentations. I can say that I've got this list of, say, 5,000 people or 50,000 people, but I'm cross-checking against the last 10 campaigns. In the last 10 campaigns, if I've sent to Daniel 10 times and he never engaged with it, so I'm not going to include him anymore.
Got it.
Right. So it's there are data layers that can help you address that concern that you mentioned.
Okay, and let's move on to the next one. I have a database of people. I think this is pretty much common with a lot of the small business owner. They either have a list of emails or they have a list of business card. But how do they convert them into email marketing lists?
this is a tricky one to address. When I come across a potential prospect or someone speaking to me about email marketing and tell me that I have a huge database of people, I get very worried because I think the underlying factor here is the compliance behind it. So your PDPAs and your GDPRs and how you protect customer data. Key for this is, for your database, do you have consent to send them material, whether on email or SMS or any other channel? That is what we need to answer. So if you have consent, very well, you can get on with your campaigns. But if you don't have consent, is where I think most of the problems lie. A lot of people, they say, like, I collect a name card. Doesn't mean that the person has given me a consent to send you an email or marketing email.
Yeah.
Right. Even if someone goes to my inquiry form on the website and asks me a question, it does not mean that he has given me consent to send me email, right? So the key is to get consent. So if you're starting your digital programs at the moment, whether it's a website, it's a microsite, it's a Facebook campaign, always get the consent on day one, because that is the most important. If you don't get consent, there are a lot more problems that you got to deal with when you start your marketing, your digital marketing. So if you don't have a consent, and say now you've got this base of emails, how do you get the consent, right? So I think this is where brands or businesses need to get a bit more creative in terms of how to get consent. The traditional way of doing this is, let's use emails or SMS. I will send 10,000 emails to these people and tell them that if you don't want, you opt out. Otherwise, you're automatically opt in, right? So that's one way to do it. But when you start doing that, you'll realize that a few of them, a small percentage will opt out, but you're left with a list that are not interested in your business to begin with, right? So your engagements will be low. So think about other tactics, right? One way would be to load that list of emails into, say, a Facebook a campaign of yours, and use social interaction to actually get opt-ins rather than doing it a positive, negative way, right? Get the opt-ins. And you can look lookalike audience. If you have a base of, say, 10,000, use lookalikes to actually reach to a new group of people. So that way you actually get new people subscribing to your newsletter that will be interested in your service as well. So I think to answer this question, as I said, if you have consent, go on with the programs. If you don't, think of ways to get their consent, right? And how you get consent will differ depending on the size of your base.
I think your colleague also mentioned one time, because a lot of traditional businesses tend to, like, okay, drop a name card or something like that, but just bypass that error straight away. Put a QR code. QR code. Yeah.
Yeah. But the other way, if we have an opt-in function in Engine Mailer itself, right? So in Engine Mailer, you can go in and you can build subscription forms, right? So it's an online form. They fill up their names, their emails, and so forth. And at the bottom, because we're GDPR compliant, it's got a tick box there that I agree for you to use my data for marketing, and there are templates for this. So the moment someone has given consent on the forms that are built on Engine Mailer, if you go to the subscriber database, it actually tells you when was consent given, on what date. So we have audit trails on the consents that are given by the consumers. So that's a very fast way to do it, right?
Yeah. So another follow-up on the group one. Recently, we also have another thing, like, because people were asking, is blog still relevant? So is email marketing still relevant? Because there's like Telegram groups, there's like Facebook groups and stuff like that. Why is email still relevant at this point in time?
Oh, I think for the benefit of the audience, if you get some time, go to the blogs that we've written on Engine Mailer. There's a lot of information to tell you why email is still relevant. But I guess if you compare Facebook, say Telegram, blogs, and emails, you've got to understand again in the whole marketing spectrum, are you at the awareness stage or are you at the engagement stage? Right? Platforms like Facebook, you use it to create awareness, right? This is my product, how great it is. You're going after a big crowd. So the people whom are interested in what you're selling or what you're offering, the whole idea is to get their details. So email being one of the details. So when you reach email, email is more a targeted stage already. Why do you want to continue to pay Facebook for advertising when you already have, say, I have your email, Daniel, and I know what you want. So I will reach you on a more targeted basis without having to pay for advertising anymore. Right? That's the whole idea. So again, Facebook, again, if you go post on a group, the reach out to the group members are not guaranteed. So most of the times you have to pay money, right? You pay for a program or you want to boost. There's always cost involved. And secondly, even if you're a page with hundreds of thousands of likes, what if tomorrow social platforms decide that they want to charge you money? You do not own the customer data.
Yeah.
Right. So in emails, you actually own the database yourself. So it moves. So tomorrow you're not happy with Klaviyo, you can use the MailChimp, you can move to Engine Mailer, you can actually move that data into any platform that you want, right? And I guess when it comes to Telegram, again, if you go to those push factors, like WhatsApp as well, WhatsApp for Business, you actually need to get your consumers to subscribe to your groups. Again, subscription is a form of opt-in, so you still need to go through the same process. I'm not saying don't have it, but if they've opted in for your group, take for example our MKN channel that we have now, that we get all the COVID news every evening. They've got enough content to give us on a daily basis, and we are all waiting, right, for news to come up, the number of cases, the number of people that are healed. But if you're a brand and if you don't have enough engagement for them, then people are going to subscribe to something waiting for news. So always have the strategy right before you decide what channel you want to use to reach out to them.
Yeah, that is very clear.
Yeah.
And the point that most people forget, like unless you actually have their contact details, in social media you don't have their contact details.
Yes, and the other common question, Daniel, I get all the time is, why is email so relevant? Nowadays, there is in-app notification. I go to my app, I get all my promotions. So again, there's two schools of thoughts here, right? If I've got, say, let's take e-wallets right now. You got Boost, you got Grab, you got Touch and Go, you got all these things out there. When I get a promotion, I've got to go specific into these wallets to look at those promotions. Whereas if you send me promotions on email, I've got my one Gmail where I see all of my promotions. So from a convenience standpoint, a lot of consumers still prefer looking at email than in-app notifications. But the answer, again, the golden answer behind this is you must explore and you must try all of the available channels before you decide what works best for your service offerings.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, let's move on to some non-email questions, basically. So I think this came from someone who actually has an e-commerce site, and they are confused with the fact that everyone said, like, okay, you need to build a sales funnel, you need to build need to build a click funnel or something like that. So all they know is like people just come and browse and then buy and click. So what will be your advice to that?
Okay, for me, everything, it's a very good question, right? Let's take it one step back, right? Why did you open the shop? Always go back to that, right? There must be a target. So how you should work this is, okay, I'm selling this product. I want to sell 100 of these products. Then you think, in order to sell 100 of these products, I need to bring maybe 1,000 of people to be interested in this product. In order to get 1,000 people interested in this product, I need to bring 100,000 people to my website. Right. So when you work in your funnel, don't say that I have an online shop and automatically I'm going to become a millionaire because everybody's going to come and buy my product. Right. How do you then get this 100,000 people to your website so that you will find the people that like your product, then eventually buy it? So that essentially is a funnel. And I think to answer this question, if you're looking at bringing 100,000 people to your website, there is cost. If you're looking at converting 10,000 people to the 1,000 paid customers, there is cost. Then figure out what are the cost elements and how do you then achieve the business goal that you want to achieve. But I think not having a funnel in place is wrong, right? That's fundamental number one. Always go back to that digital funnel, your attraction, conversion, engagement, your selling and your advocacy level. So run through that 5 levels and see what are the specific digital tools and strategies that you want to implement for all 5 of these stages, right? That would be my advice to answer this question.
The next question is a bit more so basically that how do I know if digital marketing that I'm doing right now is profitable? Like essentially they are spending 1,000 ringgit and getting back result, but not just 3,000 revenue, but at a loss. So like it's I'm a bit confused with this question. But yeah, how do I guess the question is how do you determine the ROI for digital marketing?
So I guess the beauty about digital marketing as a whole is you can track everything, right? So you know exactly how many people came to your website. You know exactly how many took this journey. You know exactly how many added into a cart. You know exactly how many people paid you X amount of money, right? So step number one is in order to track, you must put in all of the tracking tools that are applicable to you. As simple as your Google tracking tools, your pixels. You talk about specific tracking codes that every other platform give you. Have all this data and understand the customer journeys that are going through. Right, that's number one. Right. Number two is talk about the engagement rates that you have when it comes to email again, right? If you are spending X number designing this campaign, okay, you pay one freelancer 200-300 ringgit, you have one campaign done, right? Just a very simple terms. And you got a base of 20,000 people. So, Daniel, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah. You got a base of say 20,000 people. So what is the cost of your marketing? Your cost of marketing is at $200-300 plus whatever that you're paying. So you know if you get X number of sales from this campaign, you would have made money.
Yeah.
Right. So you have the customer acquisition cost and you got the lifetime value of a customer. So if you're selling a product that lets the customer renew on a monthly basis, the subscription. So the moment you get him once, you might want to assume that he will stay with you for 12 months, provided your service is good. Right. So take the cost elements and match it against the revenue that is coming from. Again, it all sounds rather complicated at first, but before you can start is get the reporting tools and matrices in place. Because if you don't have those data points, you will never know. Right? As simple as say we have a Facebook remarketing campaign and we are paying X number of US dollars every month for everyone that has visited our website. Right? So we are saying that with the remarketing, you are driving back 30% of traffic into Agent Mailer, of which maybe 10% signs up. Right? So that's how you justify the ROIs in marketing. So back to, I think a very simple way is, now that you know digital can do all this, and I said, okay, Daniel, let's put one signboard up on LDP, right? So if you are going that approach and you're just estimating that X number of cars come by, then you can't really track your ROI, right? So it depends on the business as well, what you're trying to do. So
I was going to say when traditional media tend to look at that, it's like I know I will reach 50% of the people, but I do not know which 50%.
Yep. You can't target, right? And I guess it's to experiment. I'm one of those that likes to take samples. It might be a Facebook campaign, it might be SEO, it might be SEM, it might be even call center, it might be a micro page. So the moment you have ratios in your business, you will know what is the best thing, what is the best method to use for different objectives that you want to accomplish in business, right? So you'll know that if I use SEM, maybe the conversion rate is 0.02%.
Yeah.
Right. If I use Facebook, it gives me a 0.002% maybe, right? On the quality of leads that we are talking about. But if I'm going after a very specific landing page, the quantity might be low, but the quality is high. Right. So you must know all these ratios and ultimately experimenting with the different methods out there. And I think the key word here is growth hacking, right? So it's no longer digital marketing, it's growth hacking your way to whatever that the business wants. I think that's the key word.
So basically, I think that like we can also sum up like question 3 and 4 a bit, because I think you touched a bit on question 3, like how do we know the sales generated is not from other sources, not paid advertising related.
So again, as I said, every funnel we are tracking. So if you are running a free advertising, maybe you land it on a different landing page. A paid might have a very specific journey that you want a user to go through. So I think the best way to take it, if you ask me, is a personalized journey for every persona and every outcome that you want someone to do, right? So if I'm telling someone that you are getting 10,000 free emails,
Yeah.
and you need to give me your email so that you can unlock the stuff. When you click on that link, when you land on my landing page, I'm already giving you a very clear journey on that. I'm not talking about templates anymore. I'm not talking about how you can get superb results. It's specific towards what you're looking for, right? So again, if you take it from that line, split it up into your free advertising journeys and your paid advertising journeys. I think the paid will be more focused. So that's what we need to track. Right.
Okay. I think the last one basically is this. Basically, Jeff has probably answered it. How do you know the percentage of sales generated from new customer or repeat customer? Just to summarize a bit, it's basically about your tracking. Like, if the better your data about your customer, you will know exactly where to know. Okay, this customer will the lifetime value of it essentially is like they will spend every month, will buy X amount of items from you, also.
Yeah. So again, always remember, the other rule to remember is it's a lot easier to sell to an existing customer than to go and look for a new one, right? A lot cheaper as well, right? So whenever you get a customer, always get their details, always know their behaviors. The more data you have about them, the more tailored you can design and create programs for them to buy more from you.
Okay, so thanks a lot, Jeff. Any final words before we let you off? And
nothing. Just from where we started at the start, I think we spoke about having a free forever plan. So I think at the end of it, we are also giving everyone out there 10,000 free emails forever. So if you do not send more than 10,000, just sign up for free. And very specific for O2O, we have our promo codes that you can apply. What it will do is to unlock that 500 email cap per day from a free account, so that you can actually send your 10,000 emails at a go every month. If you need to send more than that, there are very affordable paid plans that you go after.
And the other thing I have to add, because most of our audience are from Malaysia, we do have a bit abroad, but most of them from Malaysia. This is a proudly Malaysian-made solution.
Oh yeah, it's fully made in Malaysia. And if you're in Malaysia, I think what will be very handy is we have got a dedicated WhatsApp phone number. So once you've signed up, the customer service team is there. So if you're unsure about anything, just give us a WhatsApp. You can speak to someone. We are a call away. You don't need to go through a very tedious process to explain yourself. If you need to do a product demo, or if you need someone to walk through the product with you, just come to our website and request for it, and we'll arrange for those sessions to be conducted.
Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. And for people who want to check out Engine Mailer, the site is www.enginemailer.com. Thanks a lot, Jeff. Really appreciate you for coming on again.
Thanks so much, Daniel. Very happy to sit down this afternoon with you.
Okay, really appreciate it. I'll see you soon. Cheers. And for those who are actually watching, who have not signed up for O2O, you have access to a whole bunch of tutorials, talks, and etc. We will be sharing the link right below and over at our group. So thank you very much again.
Thanks, see you then. Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Bye.